Welcome back to part 5. We rejoin the action on section number 13. We're looking at Jack Shepherd halfway through the section. Conditions underfoot now, very wet, very greasy. Oh, Jack just dropping his front wheel into a hole there. Not really where he wants to be. He wanted to be further to the left there to get him in a straighter line over the rocks to the left. There is a big hole there on the right, and Jack found it with the front wheel. As he hit that main step, it just hooked him up over to the right, fractionally dropping the front wheel into the hole. Steady one to get out of trouble though. Back into the wood. This is James Yearley on the red and blue route. James borrowing this bike for the event. Loved it so much. Went out the following week and bought himself a new Vita. The red and blue route, a good run for its money. James, a very, very credible rider, very strong rider, determined to get through everything he can. Good ride for a 2. Steady ride that. Just looking back at section number 2 now, we're watching Tony Jones once again. See just how much Tony's fighting his Yamaha up there. Conditions underfoot now, very, very greasy. Easing the brakes, trying not to lock them up. The tyres will be quite full of mud as well here, so the climb up here is going to be tricky. Nice ride from TJ. Watching number 14, sponsored by Global Racing Oils. We're watching Richard Rogers from Colchester. Very tricky exit here for the intermediates. You have to have a lot of courage and commitment to drop the front wheel over this steep rock. If you had the courage to hang on for a second longer, you are over the problem. Another dab from Richard. 3 marks dropped. Still on the same section, we're now looking at pro class rider Andy Chilton. It's good to see that as soon as the pros came round to this section, these 2 front sections at the Trials Park here, number 13 and 14, we had a lot of spectators following the riders round, and as you can see in the background there, behind the banners, quite a few people watching the cameras. Great photo opportunities. Andy on fire on this lap, determined to catch Jack Shepherd up. Both minders at the top, ready to catch. Just falling into the hole there. Carried over just a little bit too far at the top. Again at the top of this one there's a great big hole. Riders were losing their front wheel in that hole sometimes and having to really fight to get it back again, to keep the feet on the pegs. Nice bit of technique there, just clearing the back wheel. Going for a steady ride, keeping it safe.
What, jumping it?
Will he jump it? Silly question really. This is Andy Chilton we're watching, of course he's going to jump it. Still on the same section, we're just watching Alan Miller once again on his Suzuki coming through. This is the white route, the novice route. Designed to give the riders a flavour of the rocks. Nothing too dangerous, but just taking them in and around, enough just to take the odd cheeky 1 or 2 off them like that. Nothing dangerous.
Super, absolutely, yeah, that is nice, yeah.
James Fry. ground underfoot here, it needs to be said that the ground underfoot here is very uneven. Yep. You can see all those bits of concrete in the bottom there, designed to give the rider's bike when it gets really wet. Not a flat car park finish at all to this, but this is why the riders are just taking the time bouncing the bike around to get it right. Now, this is interesting. James is now wedged on a rock with his sump plate. His front wheel has dropped into a hole. Steve Lambeth, his minder, trying to get him to lean back here, get the weight onto the back wheel and hoist the front wheel out of the hole onto the rock in front of him. You can't quite see. It's going to take a big effort. Is he going to do it? Yes! Good effort, James. It takes a lot of strength to do that. Good effort from James. This is what I mean. A lot of people remarking on James throughout the day just how much he fought every single inch of the way to make sure he got through the end of the section. Cameraman just getting in the way there, just doing a bit of altercation. James on top of the Stone rock. Difference in year mates when it was bone dry this time last year. That's lovely, just flicking the bike round with an aerial turn. Still feet up. James still on a clean. Nice jump across the gap, still clean. That's a fabulous ride. Excellent ride from James. James clawing himself back into the game. We'll see you all in part 6.